Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Tosche Station. This is episode 3.
Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith.
Today we're discussing what is the role of hermitage and self-exile in Star Wars. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for liking, comment, and subscribing. And leave a comment below. And I'm Dennis. Everybody introduce yourselves.
I'm Rob.
This is Derek.
And we're going to talk about Star Wars. This is Tosche Station. Welcome. So, hermits. I guess the big names, come first from
First of all,
Obi-Wan.
Let's zoom out for a second. What is a hermit? What do you guys think of when you hear the word hermit?
Santa Claus.
What?
Yeah, I mean,
the dude lives alone. I mean, basically with a bunch of elves
No, he doesn't.
in the North
He has
Pole.
He has a wife.
You could wait. You could make the argument.
Okay.
Even though
Thousands
Obi-Wan
of
has all these
slaves.
sand people
Okay,
around, he's not a hermit, but he's a fucking hermit.
He doesn't socialize.
He's not your typical
enjoy.
hermit, but he is a hermit, I guess, somewhat. He lives in fucking Antarctica. Anyone who lives in Antarctica is a hermit.
He doesn't live in Antarctica.
He doesn't?
He lives in the Arctic.
Oh, yeah, you're right, my bad. Okay, this is way off topic.
All right, our first podcast public poll is Santa Claus a hermit? No. So
I think
when
all right, sorry, go on.
I was gonna say, just like when I think of a hermit, I'll just think of, somebody who lives like in a little cave, like in the rain, wearing like rough, like, tattered robes, who leans on a stick.
Yeah,
and
like a monk.
Thinks about like nature, like all day.
A monk or a Sufi or something like that, right?
Yeah, kind of like a wise.
Who's renounced materialism and the society and chosen to live a life of quiet solitude.
And not just quiet solitude, but like almost like severe simplicity and like minimalism.
Asceticism, yeah.
Asceticism, yeah, really.
Yeah, and there are a lot of Buddhist origins for a lot of the themes in Star Wars and characters. So I think this is going to be a good topic to discuss. Yeah. And the big so just to start us off, the big three, we actually meet two of them in the first two movies. Obi-Wan is known as a hermit, and then Yoda is a hermit, and they're both like the only people we know as like powerful Jedis in the franchise. So we automatically correlate an idea about the role of hermitage is correlated to being a Jedi and being powerful, and kind of your power is based on your wisdom, and your wisdom is sort of like based on your training, but also your embrace of certain truths, I guess. So how does hermitage lead to greater power? It's just sort of like you learn to control your own mind instead of worrying about other people's minds.
I think it kind of like centers you on what's truly important. And in regards to the Force, it's important to remember that you need to be one with like the natural world around you. And what better way to be one with that than to sever all ties with anything but the natural world around you? However, in Star Wars, both Yoda and Obi-Wan pretty apparently go into self-exile for specific reasons. Obi-Wan does so to watch over Luke, the son of his fallen Padawan. Yoda, it's not really clear.
Yoda's just a huge bitch.
Well, yeah, it seems like he loses to Palpatine, and the Jedi Order falls, and he's like, well, I failed. Time to hide away.
So I was doing a little research earlier, Rob, and that's exactly it. That's what.
Damn.
And there's later explanations for him he heard the voice of Qui-Gon there in Clone Wars. There's a lot of stuff they added after the fact. But in the moment, yeah, Yoda just bitched out.
But that seems very un-Jedi and very un-Yoda.
Well, the Jedi Order was gone, so it didn't really matter anymore, I guess.
Yeah, it's like, what's he gonna do? He can't literally fight the entire Imperial army by himself, I guess.
Yeah, he would have
He
to.
couldn't even defeat.
Well, he would have to train new students, which he eventually does. So, Yoda.
Yeah,
Trains a new student.
reluctantly.
I don't think he was.
Yeah, I don't think it was reluctant.
So much as
he had to be convinced by Obi-Wan's ghost.
Oh, well, that's true.
Reluctant.
That's
He was
true.
like, too old. Nope, it's too much like his father. I'm not going to train him.
Got me, bro.
And Obi-Wan was like, come on.
Obi-Wan said a bunch of crazy shit during that conversation, too. Obi-Wan's Force Ghost, talks a lot about some crazy shit.
Real talk. He gets into some real talk. Because he's like, I'm dead. Doesn't matter anymore. I'm going all in.
Yeah, for real.
So
it's very influential.
It's kind of interesting. So, hypothetically, is Yoda going into exile the best thing he could have done given the situation? Like, what?
I think
what's his mindset? What is his rationale?
I think there's
for saying,
I
have to go.
I think there's room to say that there's a lot of premonitions happening in the Jedi's, that it's part of their way, and I think maybe he kind of knew he had to be at a certain place in time, and he can escape it all. He can basically wait for the next thing, the Force to tell him, kind of like the Force can guide him, and that's what the Force guided him to do.
That's a good way of putting it. So
it's a little convenient, but I mean that is like the major theory, I think.
Yeah. I'm really interested. One of the things I'm most excited for about this new Obi-Wan Disney Plus show is
I'm really excited.
How are they going to portray his life in exile? Like, it's assumed that, before, sooner rather than later, there's going to be something that happens that gets him on some, adventure mission or something. But, at least in probably like the first episode, we're going to get like a sort of slice of life type thing. What's it been like for him over the past 10 years?
True.
In the Tatooine desert. What does Obi-Wan do? What does he do day to day? Does he meditate? Does he scavenge for food? Does he fight and or work with the Tusken Raiders?
Dude, he gets a girlfriend.
Does he leer at Luke through his bedroom window secretly, or does he have a girlfriend?
He reveals that Padme is secretly alive, and he got her off the planet, and they started up a relationship. And she's pregnant.
I don't like that.
And Natalie Portman's gonna come back.
You know what? On a very side note, in retrospect, as a pretty influential senator and former queen of a planet, Padme handles the whole illicit marriage to a Jedi very poorly. She makes some really, really immature, kind of impulsive choices.
Well, he's supposed to be the wise one. I mean, it's almost like Anakin convinces her that it's almost sanctioned by the Jedi, at least.
It's reverse grooming or something.
I don't get that. How do you come to that?
What I said?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they are being deceptive and kind of going around the order, but I almost feel like he's an enabler. Let's say he's the enabler because he's part of the Jedi Council. Yeah, he completely feeds it. Yeah, and he's a fucking Jedi. He also can literally manipulate her to do stuff like that.
That's a very interesting thought. I never thought about it like that. Now this is admittedly kind of off topic, but is it possible to read the Star Wars prequels in a way that paints Anakin as like a emotional, abuser, like manipulator.
I mean, towards the end there, it gets real squirrely. I mean, they definitely they have scenes where he's like, confessing that he hates, the Tusken Raiders and that he liked slaughtering them and shit, and like then he talks about how like democracy doesn't work, and it's all kind of meant to be a little trail of breadcrumbs leading to him going fascistic cyborg Hitler. So in a way, I think there's a couple things too in the Phantom Menace that he says that is obvious.
Are you an angel?
And it's the same question. It's like right after he says like, "Oh, no one can kill a Jedi," and then Obi-Wan's like,
Qui-Gon says, "I wish that were so."
Qui-Gon. Yeah.
So a note about
disillusionment,
Hermitage, and Anakin specifically. Does Vader hiding in his castle, constantly sitting in a back detector count?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it kind of is his own form of, Vader is extremely, extremely masochistic. Like, he purposefully builds his castle on Mustafar, the site of his greatest defeat, where the love of his life left him. And like he knows it was essentially because of him, and he chooses to go there and linger there and sit in his castle and brood and be in pain and
develop super weapons.
It's kind of like it's hermitage, but in a way it's kind of like an extreme form of like self-flagellation, like just like ad infinitum.
I see that.
And that's a very interesting connection. I didn't think of it like his own form of hermitage.
I hadn't until now either. Yeah, but is it in the first? It's in the second movie, I think, where Empire Strikes Back. It shows the back of his head for the first time.
Yeah,
in the Bacta chamber,
in his little pod.
In his pod, kind of like it is very like what is the term? Like sci-fi, like monk kind of thing, evil monk kind of thing that he's doing in there. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing in there. He has his helmet. I mean, like the helmet itself is
just letting it breathe or something, He's
like letting his scalp breathe. I mean, I guess he's still wearing his breathing mask on the front, the helmet's just
that little hint of the back of his head that he's like, there's still some flesh. There's still some flesh in there.
Yeah, and then you can tell the one commander who like goes to talk to him. He's like, oh shit. I interrupted the boss.
I wonder if showing Kylo in his high waist pants was sort of like a callback to the sort of the revealing Sith Lord.
No, that was just, I don't know what that was.
It was a stroke of genius, whatever.
Truly iconic. Truly iconic.
Another reason why The Last Jedi is the best of the three.
Yes. Oh yes.
Swole Kylo. The memes alone. You hit gold.
Right? Oh god.
Let's cover that because that's the other major instance of exile.
The major instance of hermitage.
Even though it does take place in the Nether universe that never comes to be, we find out later. After everything after the Mandalorian series becomes erased when Ahsoka changes the timelines in Ahsoka Point.
Well, let's talk about facts right now. All
right, just kidding.
So Luke goes into self-exile, becomes a hermit on
Ahch-To.
On Ahch-To. Thank you. And he lives in his little seaside cave and
Gets his little
pole
milk.
vaults
Gets his
around.
little. He's got his own little milk walrus.
He drinks blue milk, green milk, and severs himself from the Force. So this is a more extreme degree of exile because not only is he exiling himself from the rest of the galaxy, like Obi-Wan and Yoda did, but he's also exiling himself from the Force itself, which is a pretty extreme degree to take. But Derek, earlier today you made a pretty interesting connection between Luke and Obi-Wan and Yoda. Do you want to elaborate on that a bit?
Sure. So, in Luke's entire experience as a Jedi, the only Jedi that he's ever known are hermits.
Mm-hmm.
So when he feels this sense of defeat, the only thing he knows to do is to run away.
Mm-hmm.
At least on, in terms of the spiritual side and not necessarily whatever military side he may or may not still have.
Mm-hmm. It's a little reflective of the the Dalai Lama's choice to have the Tibetan people leave when the Maoist government took over Tibet.
Yeah.
Like, just like, what else are you going to do? You're going to fight like this gigantic empire, like with a bunch of monks who like are about peace, and like everyone's going to get slaughtered that you know. Like, just run until you can like galvanize like sort of a popularity power. I guess Tibet's still doing that. Sorry, but I think it is like the monk way is often to not run away, but to avoid conflict.
If we want to get into some sequel hate for a second,
sure.
I don't think that Rian Johnson made that conscious decision.
Oh yeah,
no. I don't think he ever thought of that parallel when making that movie.
But I mean, I'm just saying, from even the original George Lucas trilogy, like they are like the Jedi Knights are depicted to be very monk-like. They are very much like monks.
That's one thing that I think, looking at everything in total, is one of the things that kind of disappoints me about the sequel. I mean, not the sequel trilogy. It's one of the things that disappoints me about the prequel trilogy, is that based on the OT, I really and especially as a kid, even before as a little kid, before the prequels came out, like I imagined the Jedi as these sort of like monks, these kind of like mysterious hermits spread across the galaxy. And the Jedi Order, such as it was more of kind of like a loose sort of federation slash sort of like philosophy, that they have, that is maybe there's some communication between them, and cooperation, and in times of need they may kind of like come together. But it's kind of jarring based on just what we see directly in in the original trilogy, to be like, oh no, the Jedi's are like a full on, like you know like they got like their temple, and everybody hangs out there, and they're governed by this like governing body, and they chill with like the chancellor and everything. It's very different from what I feel like a lot of people thought of as the Jedi Order.
Absolutely. Good
And
point. Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, I like the prequels. I'm not like saying they're
it's
all
cool
like
to see
trash.
them in a different role for sure.
I think I really would be interested to see the same general story of the prequels, as far as the arc of Anakin and all the major characters, play out with this sort of more loosely defined, you know, um, sort of hermetic Jedi. And you could still kind of have them come together in the face of this huge galactic, emergency that is the emergence of the Clone Wars. Like it kind of like forces the Jedi to like band together for the first time in a millennia or something like that. That'd be kind of a cool route to take in an alternate universe retelling.
In the alternate universe retelling?
Yeah, like if we were to like remake the prequels, that would be one of the things I would like want to do.
They would they were more like a clan that was like roaming.
Yeah, kind of more like a
nomads.
scattered. Think of like how like almost how like the Mandalorians are portrayed in the Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Kind of how like there's like different like cells of them all around the galaxy, and they all live by like a code and ethics, but there's no like direct chain of command or organization.
Yeah. Why are they also
That's
easily
kind of
killed in one purge? How are they also easily killed? They're Jedis.
because they're all together. Yeah, I know what you mean. Well, because the Clone War, well, they weren't all killed right there in Order 66. The I feel like the continuous background cry from like the Star Wars fandom as a whole is people want a TV show or a movie of Darth Vader and his Inquisitors straight up hunting down like the remaining, tiny Jedi. After the Rogue One ending, everybody wants to see just like a Darth Vader movie of him just being like beast mode, like killing Jedi.
Yeah.
That would be a very dark
Yeah.
movie and a very hard one to do well.
Star Wars horror.
But that did happen. There was like a period of years after the fall of the Republic where Vader spent most of his time killing off the rest of the Jedi.
A Star Wars slasher flick.
Yeah, make it like a cyber horror type thing, like a sort of like alien
cyber horror. He's like alien. He's like alien. He's like in your ship. And the steam comes up front. He's like boom, just like that Rogue One moment.
Exactly. Just make that a movie. Oh, it would be amazing.
It's gonna be hard to justify ethically. It's like, oh, hey, families, bring your kids and your daughters who look up to Rey.
I'm of the opinion that Star Wars has reached a point of cultural saturation and recognition where they don't have to cater towards the common denominator based fan group anymore. People know what Star Wars is. You either like it or you don't. And like now they have so much room to do different sort of like generic avenues. And I think that we may start seeing that with all these like new shows they're coming out with. Like they can do like a sort of like horror, like a Star Wars horror movie. That'd be kind of like a cool twist given the subject matter. They can do like a Star Wars, the new movie that Patty Jenkins is making. What is it? Rogue Squadron. She said that's going to be a sort of like fighter pilot, homage kind of like war movie, like Top Gun type thing in Star Wars. You can do these little stylistic takes on different stories and sections and characters in the universe that fit what you're trying to do without trying to have like this huge. So like hell, make like a rated R Star Wars movie that's Darth Vader. And it would be a success. People would flock to see that movie.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what they should do. But so
I'm trying to think of other ways that you could make a Star Wars movie other than that, though. Something about like the Hutt Mafia or something, or like I don't know.
Make like a mob, make like a mob movie, make like a Godfather like riff.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious. Oh jeez.
Yeah, just start doing genre films in every genre of Star Wars. Yeah. Because otherwise they're just gonna recycle the same formula, and it's already totally broken. It's like the mold has been broken, and they are trying to use it like literally over and over again. And it's like the major criticism of Force Awakens was that it was a retread, but people generally liked it because it was warm and comfortable, and it was cozy and Star Warsy. But it was, and so it was like a return to form. But then it was like, but that can't just be
Well, the problem with Star Wars fanboys, it's really a lose-lose situation with them. As like one of the biggest Star Wars fanboys around, I don't understand sometimes Star Wars like fandom culture. I don't get it. People are like shitting on The Force Awakens because it's too formulaic, and then Last Jedi comes along and tries something new and genuinely tries to like push the boundaries of what they can do in the Star Wars universe, and everyone shits on it because it's not what they wanted or expected. It's like, well, what do you want?
Yeah.
It's like,
I think people were upset that you're right. I mean, it's one of those things where if it wasn't so similar, if Force Awakens wasn't so ridiculously similar to A New Hope,
yeah,
then people wouldn't be calling for it to be more different in the next film. And so he put the gas on it a little bit too much to be too kind of like personal and intimate and like different than other Star Wars movies and surprise you. And it worked. It was polarizing. So it worked for a lot of people, but didn't work for others. And it really split the fandom, which you could see why the higher ups would be like really pissed off that like their golden calf, their golden goose has like fucking been severed in half. That's
it was doomed
it's really
to fail from the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, in retrospect, the sequel trilogy was,
But you could have done. You couldn't have had to go so far, like where Ryan Johnson was really doing stuff that people felt was deliberately trying to get under the skin of the franchise's themes. I don't agree with that, but I could kind of see how that interpretation like would sour you. And I think Mark Hamill is a perfect example of someone who's sort of like, this isn't like what people want, just flatly saying that.
I mean, it's hard as a creator when you're working with a property that is so loved by millions.
It's hard to step out of it, and look at it.
Yeah,
like
I mean, it's
artist,
very easy.
A real piece.
It's very easy to say like, oh, well, you need to do the story you need to tell, but at some point there is a certain degree of responsibility you have to sort of like maintaining what it is about like the series fundamentally.
Which is George Lucas. I mean, they should have taken his notes, altered it a little bit, but like tried to keep as much of it in with integrity as possible. But they apparently did not use any of his writing.
One of the things really that I hate the most
tried to separate it and then kill every character, every major OT trilogy character.
One of the things that I hate the most about the sequel trilogy is probably what I hate the most about the sequel trilogy is that it turns eventually every conversation about Star Wars eventually turns into talking about what the sequel trilogy did wrong and why they're bad.
And you know what's interesting about that? I mean,
it kind of broke Star Wars.
Yeah, but same thing with prequels. People like everything about the prequels.
I know like the older gen, like probably like Gen X, the the people a little older than us absolutely hated the prequels, and they are clunkier movies. And maybe we are really blinded that much by nostalgia and stuff, but I mean the at the end of the day, we've talked about this before. At the end of the day, like the prequels, the story, like the overarching story and the character arcs that are being told work really well. It wasn't executed quite as well as it could have been. The sequel trilogy, they're competently made films, except for Rise of Skywalker. That is a really just absolutely shoddy film in my opinion. But the first two are like well-made films. But the problem is that they're built on nothing. There's like no substance to them, story-wise or thematic-wise, except for The Last Jedi.
Very hollow.
But it was just like, so let's take it back for a sec.
Those two movies are good though. Like Force Awakens, Last Jedi, they're good.
Force Awakens is a good movie. Yeah.
Yeah, they're good
Yeah.
movies. They're good movies still.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I agree. So Luke going to Ashto, severing himself from the Force.
Very extreme.
What? I mean, I feel like he kind of explains it a little bit, but not really. Like, what's your guys' take on like his rationale for that? Like, what purpose is
I
that
don't think he
serving?
has a very good one.
I don't know. I don't see
which
it.
is why it comes back to me saying that I don't think Rian Johnson did that on purpose, or at least the kind of weight behind that. But the actual delivery on it was terrible.
I do have a thought about it. I think it's poorly explained, but I think there's a rationale for it in Rian Johnson's reading of The Force Awakens, where this guy Luke Skywalker secluded himself on an island. Well, you know who has a connection with him and is looking for him, and it doesn't really make sense because she is another. Leia should be able to sense where he is and find her if he had not done that. So it was basically it needed to be explained that he was cut off from the network, the matrix of the Force that could connect people.
Does he think he's like protecting them by hiding himself from them?
Yeah, I think they do imply that a little bit. Yeah, that he feels like it's both failure and the dark side stuff, where he's sort of like, oh, I did it. I did what happened to my dad is now happening to my nephew, and I'm the conduit. And basically, like, for some reason, my nephew has this unhealthy obsession with my father, and it's just a messy situation. And then as it's explained, Snoke is manipulating him from afar, I guess, and tempting his mind. And as it explained several times in several different perspectives, Kylo Ren is acting out of fear and PTSD in a lot of ways, and that movie paints him as a bit more sympathetic and a bit more like a victim of a threat from Luke. So it's very hard, and I think that's what they're getting at, is that Luke, he is responsible. He doesn't just feel responsible, or he's like, oh, I'm gonna separate myself. He's like, I've already done the damage. I need to stop, like, thinking that I know what I'm doing and just let the Force guide me, and just something like that. I mean, I am just kind of guessing, but that would be my through line if I was going to say, like, what happened exactly, why he did that. Does that answer everything?
A little bit. Do you guys think were Obi-Wan and Yoda successful in training Luke as a Jedi, or did they ultimately fail?
I would venture to say they succeeded.
Yeah. How so? Why?
Well, so again, maybe this goes a little bit too much into my headcanon, but I don't think it's a coincidence that Luke's lightsaber looks like Obi-Wan's. I think that's just the residual effect of everything that Obi-Wan left behind, because his hut was still there on Tatooine. Obi-Wan surely had to have been preparing to train Luke one day.
Yeah.
So I think there was a lot that we didn't necessarily see that just had to have happened. At the same time, at least from what we get from the prequels, your like baby steps as a Jedi are some of the most important. Period.
Uh-huh.
So for Luke to have gotten as much of a start as he did, I mean, I guess we could attribute that mostly all to Obi-Wan.
And at the end of the day, even though Luke does kind of falter a bit, he ultimately comes through in the end and is a hero again.
Yeah.
With counseling from Yoda's Force Ghosts and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he in standing up and facing down Kylo Ren, he not only helps the Resistance escape and yada yada, but he sends a big message to the Resistance, to Kylo Ren, and himself, I guess. That's one of the things I like about The Last Jedi, because one of the most hollow criticisms that people have about that film is people go, "Oh, it shows Luke, he runs away, he's defeated, Luke wouldn't do that. Luke's perfect. Luke, after defeating Vader in the Empire, he is space Superman." It's like, that's not how real life works, though. you know and I think it's really important to show, like, the hero continues to struggle and doubt himself after he becomes a hero, even more so because now he has all this pressure on him. That's very natural.
And
But ultimately he learns that he has the ability to help despite his reservations, and so he does.
yeah, and the way they, like, forgot what I was gonna say. Sorry.
Gets the best of them. And really, at the end of the day, it's up to old white men. Well, Yoda's not a white man. You get the point. It's up to old bearded men to
Yoda's
train
not
the younger
bearded
generation.
either.
Yoda got a little raggly at the end, scraggly, a little rough.
There was something. There's something I was gonna say off of your main point, Rob. It was like the way that he contributes to the conflict. The backstory that's revealed in the middle of The Last Jedi, the middle of the film, is that Luke Skywalker created the conflict, debatably, of Kylo Ren.
He certainly
Ignited it, sure, and so that's interesting. But there's also the fact of the prequels being that you could basically put blame on creating Anakin Skywalker on the Jedi Council.
Yeah.
But similarly, it's debatable. It's not any one person's fault.
This is interesting. I was reading on Reddit a few days ago, and people were talking about the character of Mace Windu, and apparently pre-Disney, in all of, like, the books and all, like, the EU stuff, Mace Windu was portrayed as, like, a major dick.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he was, like, outwardly really aggressive and, like, really like um really, like, condescending to Anakin, and super, like, bullheaded about stuff and everything. And,
Mm-hmm.
like, the kind of general consensus was that it was accepted that, like, Mace Windu did a lot to kind of poison Anakin against the Jedi because of Mace Windu's very singular philosophy, and way of using the Force. But he's kind of been rehabilitated a bit since, for a number of reasons. It's it's easier to show a character who's a little less complex than that. Samuel L. Jackson's a big, much loved star, so you want him to be more likable and stuff. But apparently, I didn't read much of, like, the prequel era EU novels back in the day, but apparently that was, like, a big portrayal of him, and I thought that
Yeah,
was kind of interesting.
that is very interesting. Yeah, I do like how the prequels kind of showcase kind of many different flavors of Force users, like someone to mirror uh, that a lot is Count Dooku. Is not particularly as evil as any other
Count Dooku has become
Sith user.
honestly one of my favorite Star Wars characters.
He's very complex, and like when I was a kid and watching those movies, he was the most boring one of all of them.
Yeah.
But then you find out, you know, who Christopher Lee is and his legacy and stuff is pretty. It's another way of like Alec Guinness, you know, adding a real serious, I think, theater actors, both of them, to Star Wars to give it that prestige, that actual. They're the voice of experience, you know. And I think he's like actually trained in like fencing and sword fighting and all this different stuff. So Christopher Lee is really very cool. But also Dooku is very complex as like a political figure and you know, leading the separatists and stuff, and being not completely evil. Like we talked about how his eyes don't show the yellow Sith eyes, so he's not full blown Sith, and it's like kind of similar. Like he could have been just as easily kind of like a mirror to someone who's very close to the center between the light and the dark. Also, not just Mace Windu, but Qui-Gon Jinn.
Yeah, Dooku's a very interesting character because really, from his perspective, he genuinely thought he was doing the right thing. Now, he was kind of coming at it from a philosophy of the means justify the end. Like, a lot of the things he was doing, you know, during the Clone Wars were not good. Like, they were ethically and morally wrong. But in his mind, he was doing these ethically and morally wrong things in order to achieve a greater good, i.e., truer galactic independence and a pure society. Maybe even
same thing with the Jedi too. But they were tricked into giving Palpatine
almost more than
power.
anyone else. I mean, not more than anyone else, but just as much as Anakin was manipulated by Palpatine. Really, you know, he was just played. He was just used as a tool. I mean,
puppet master.
All of Palpatine's apprentices are just essentially just tools in his eyes to further his ends. But
he can't keep getting away with this.
So do you think going into exile or hermitage makes one a truer or better Jedi, or does it not really matter?
It doesn't matter. You look at, I mean, again, we'll just use Mace Windu here as an example. He never went into Hermitage, and yet he was regarded as the second most powerful Jedi. Whereas Yoda could not defeat Palpatine, he did.
Yeah, that's true. You know, I've actually saw, again on Reddit, a lot of people just pretty much accept that the only Jedi who, literally the only Jedi who possibly could defeat Palpatine was Mace Windu. Maybe Anakin. Because of, you know...
I don't even think Anakin could
because of Mace's fighting style.
Yeah, that's 100% it.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think that becoming a hermit makes you a better Jedi. I think it gives a Jedi certain different perspectives, maybe, that they wouldn't otherwise get. So it creates a very different type of Jedi. But inherently better or worse, no.
Then why do you think this is such a prevalent theme within the Star Wars story? Jedi's
I think it relates more to the light side users. Definitely, and back to the asceticism of the monk's lifestyle. I think it's about sort of like kind of the roots of the Jedi experience, you know, being able to live simply and being humble and appreciative of just simple life, and not having like these big ambitions like the people who get caught up in the fascism and the
it kind
the
of
delusions
shows
of grandeur.
it shows how much the Order had really fallen by the time of the prequels. Like, do you think like the original intent of the Jedi from ages past, like something about like being in this like giant, super nice temple with all these like statues and like gold everywhere? Is that really what the Jedi's all about?
Where was this?
The Jedi Temple?
On Achto?
No,
the
in
entire prequel series.
the prequel series, it's all like they're all like
Oh
bling
yeah, yeah,
bling,
yeah, yeah.
high and mighty Jedi. Is that really what it's all about?
No, they were vainglorious and arrogant.
Because honestly, just based on the Jedi that you see in the original trilogy, Obi-Wan and Yoda, what they say and how they act seems very
Yeah,
antithetical to the concept of having this elite order of Jedi presiding and kind of like casting judgment on the galaxy around them.
they're pretty decadent.
Yeah.
But I mean that's part of the themes, right? I mean it's kind of like the fall of Rome or something.
Exactly. And I don't think people give Lucas enough credit for kind of
Yeah, like making his own like heroic archetype, making them have a fatal flaw that leads
yeah.
to leads the white circle in the yin yang becoming the dark shadowy side.
But
Cool.
you see, actually, that's something I've always wondered: is why is it that the light always has a draw to the dark, but the dark never has a draw to the light?
Because it's so easy to give into the darkness. It's so easy to give into selfishness and jealousy and anger. Whereas it's a lot harder.
Maybe, but like once you have all that as a I don't know, let's say you're a power hungry Sith. I mean, I don't know, what more dark emotion did Palpatine have to feed on? Like he got everything he wanted.
Ask Donald Trump, man.
Yikes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's some people that just it's never enough for them, and if they have the means to go for it and maintain it and pump themselves up, they will.
Yeah,
I don't know. I suppose that Palpatine is the culmination of God. I mean, hundreds, thousands of years of Sith scheming.
Yeah. I mean,
hundreds of thousands.
Palpatine.
Well, so he gained
Palpatine as a person is a very bad person. I'd venture to say, this is all kind of relative, but he's probably like not all Sith, maybe quite as evil as Palpatine. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like he had whatever was in his mind for whatever reason. He had the drive and like hunger to become Palpatine.
He really,
and study
in fact,
the dark arts.
if you study it all out, he seems like a really unlikely person to be the leader of the entire like evil order of the galaxy. He's just a fucking senator. I'm just thinking about how funny this is. He's just like this kind of wormy, kind of evil guy who will fucking stab his own, master in the back. And
that's not just him. I mean, that's just the Sith tenet.
Yeah. But his is especially interesting because one of the things he confesses or explains is that he killed his master and is tricking everyone into thinking that he has the power to bring people back to life.
Well, let's look at another Sith that we haven't really talked about much. Well, not really. Okay, so let's look at Asajj Ventress, who's really kind of more of like a dark Jedi than a full-on Sith per se. But she definitely
her perspective, like the way they look at her, definitely evolves. I actually really like her character.
Yeah, she's a cool character.
Sorry, right?
Well, no. You're pretty much on point. Like, so she is definitely someone who, on the spectrum is more in the dark. I mean, she's not full on like Palpatine or like Maul or Vader, like all the way in the black. But definitely more dark than light. I mean, she, starts as an assassin, is being trained to be a Sith, and then gets screwed over, and then she kind of just like goes off and like kind of does her own thing.
That's
But
cool.
the last time we see her in the Clone Wars, she's not really bad. She's just
Yeah,
kind
she
of
was working as a bounty
she's just
hunter.
concerned. She just really just cares about numero uno. She just wants to look out for herself, make her own way in the galaxy. And yeah, she's an awesome fighter, and she draws on the dark side to do that. She's not like a great person. I wouldn't like, you know, purposefully be like going to like chill with her like at a party, but she does help Ahsoka, and if my memory serves correct, she does not like betray or like try to like double cross Ahsoka during that arc.
Well, you know why, right?
I kind of forget, to be honest.
Because what's her name? The Padawan that framed Ahsoka stole her lightsabers.
Okay, and she's trying to get him back.
Yeah, that's literally it.
Okay, still, but she still didn't like go like, oh, I'm so vengeful against you. In the end, ultimately, Ahsoka, I'm gonna fight you. She was just like, I got what I came for. I'm out.
Hey,
So that's like someone who is like a dark side user who isn't like outright just like totally malicious evil. She's like a dark side user who uses the dark side more so to further her own ends within, the kind of flow, the comings and goings of life in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Oh, and then of course we have yet another sort of Jedi hermit out now also. Speaking of Ahsoka.
True.
yeah.
Okay, wait. This all depends. Like, I don't know. I'm not gonna say you're wrong. I will not at all say you're
Just
wrong.
based
But
on
she
what we've
seems very
seen in
normal.
Mandalorian.
I mean, just she's more of a nomad, right? I mean, like,
Yeah,
It's kind of like a vagabond in a way.
I think that counts, though, in some ways. I mean, like, she's isolated.
Well,
She's
she doesn't have,
isolated
like,
to
a
herself.
crew. Yeah.
Yeah. That's the type of exile for sure. Yeah,
Okay.
she has no society to which
What's
she
kind of more
belongs.
so, I feel like Ahsoka, she's not really exiled by her own volition. It's sort of like out of necessity. She like pretty much is like
A
the last
fugitive.
Jedi.
A fugitive. Yeah, she's a fugitive.
She's like, yeah, she's a fugitive. She's
Fugitive
kind of on the
nomad.
run. She knows things that other people don't. Obviously, has their own kind of goals in mind that are beyond the understanding of anyone else currently, insofar as the story stands.
Oh, I
So,
thought of someone else, but more of like a leader of a people who have been exiled. The Forrest Whitaker character in Rogue One.
well, I mean, you can't really call him a hermit because he has like a whole like terror cell
Oh
with
yeah,
him that
but I
he
meant
commands.
terror cell. Yeah, basically.
That's what they are. I mean, yeah, he has been shunned by the rest of the alliance, the rest of the rebel alliance.
So do we feel like Yoda had the least reason to exile himself? Maybe he should have
Yes.
gone to seek out Obi-Wan and maybe be like, bro, we got to come up with a plan or something.
Well, maybe this is all just kind of like pulling it out of my own butt, but like I was thinking like, oh, he could have gone on and been like a, valuable leader of like the rebellion. He could have like, worked with like Mon Mothma and like Senator Organa and stuff. But then I kind of really like one of the reasons that the Jedi Order fell is, as we were talking about, they got too preoccupied with the politics and, the all that, extraneous stuff, the power and their own self-interest. And because like in the prequels, I forget exactly what movie, but when Yoda's like, "Oh, the dark side clouds the future," I can't quite see because he kind of like noticed his own drop in power, and maybe after his ultimate failure at the end of Episode
Mm-hmm.
3, maybe he realized he was like, "I have strayed too far
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
what I should be doing as a Jedi," and maybe he recognized that like he wouldn't be serving himself with his connection to the Force by essentially continuing that same preoccupation with power and politics by going to lead the rebellion. And he was like, I have to kind of reconnect with the base elements of the Force.
Dude,
That
yeah. Well said. Well said. I mean, and I think that's consistent with all of them, right? I mean, they're all just sort of like, okay, this got way too real. I don't know what I'm doing. I just got my ass handed to me. I need to be humble and learn from this experience on my own. I think that's pretty consistent with all three of the major players who this applies to.
Mhm. It makes you wonder what Obi-Wan would have done if Luke had not been around.
Hmm.
Would he still have gone into exile? Would he have done something else?
Yeah,
Because I mean,
that's an interesting question.
Obi-Wan, he pretty much like jumps at the chance to go help Leia when they get the message.
Yeah, bro. Call to adventure.
He's like, all right, I finally got Luke. Let's blow this dusty, booty ass town, this out of the way planet, and get back into the action.
Yeah. There's something else I was going to say. Oh, that just like, when Yoda gets defeated, he's probably, like you said, like basically it's cloudy everywhere. He's just like, all right, they won. It's fucking, I, I, I was too self-indulgent with my Jedi Council. I fucked up. I have to go, find myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very confusing, though, to wonder why exactly they felt like that was the best method. But what else are you
one
going to
that
do?
one that isn't talked about so much, and again, it just goes back to Clone Wars. Is that's where he encountered Qui-Gon's Force Ghost.
Oh, Dagobah?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh. Yeah. Okay. I was
Yeah.
wondering what the reason was. I guess that's one of the confusing things. It seems like it's his home planet, but it's not.
No, yeah, there's two reasons why he picked Dagobah.
Dude.
First, obviously, Qui-Gon's Force Ghost, and then the second one is since it is a dark side nexus and Yoda is a very powerful, light side user, it would mask his presence to the Empire.
Wow, that's awesome, Derek. Very cool. So we gave really good answers. I think this has been a really good exploration. What stones have been left unturned? Because I think we've kind of followed through of our premise of figuring out what the role of exile is in Star Wars.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily make you a better Jedi, but it can give you general insight. The time and ability to reflect can change you.
I really liked what you said, and made me feel it's another one of those like Jungian archetypes of like the person who realized their mistake, like uses it as a lesson instead of, but like to everyone else, it's like they're being exiled or self-exiling themselves, but to that person, they're like going through like a learning process and a learning experience. And I think, yeah, I mean, Ryan Johnson was definitely trying to put Luke into the Obi-Wan role of like someone who has felt like completely kind of shattered because of their own like connection to the now the big bad villain guy, and they have to figure out why, and they have to figure out how they're gonna how they're going to make up for it.
Yeah.
Redemption, redeem themselves. So.
Yeah, that's true, because everybody who's gone into exile has ultimately redeemed themselves by the end in whatever way they needed to. Obi-Wan did what he set out to do in protecting Luke and starting, laying the foundation for his training as a Jedi. Yoda kind of like brought the more like advanced level and like ensured the next generation of the Jedi would exist, after seeing its fall. And then Luke ultimately kind of like, maintained his role as the hero, the sort of like chosen one, while kind of like becoming like the master. I don't know if I said that well, but
No, it makes
yeah.
sense.
And then it all concludes with our new favorite Jedi, Rey Skywalker, walking off into the distance to become exiled herself as a hermit.
Yeah.
And we'll see her when she's, like 50 in like 2 franchises from now. after everyone's forgot about her and she has to pull,
I mean, really,
pull
the only major sin of or I should say, one of the biggest sins. There we go. One of the biggest sins of the sequel series.
Can
is
we
the
not do
fact that
sins
someone-
because of the cinema sins
No, it's
thing?
a sin. It's a sin because
I hate that guy.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Well,
but
anyway,
the cinema
is that
sins can...
someone didn't lose their hand.
Oh,
Thank
true.
you for coming to my TED Talk.
Well, I was hoping she
right.
would... I don't know. What else can you lose?
Should have
Your legs?
fan.
Get a droid leg. Get a leg. Get a prosthetic droid robot leg. All right, y'all. Well, thank you everyone for watching, and thank you Derek and Rob for this awesome cast. And like, comment, and subscribe below what you think our next topic should be. We're gonna try to be more on schedule, and that'll be fun. And thank you. This has been Tosche Station, episode 3.
Bye-bye now.
Okay.
Bye.